Okay, we're starting part 2 of the Dragon GIMP assignment. And what we want to do now is we want to go ahead and we want to blend in a background and we want to extend the ocean. Now, the image I chose doesn't necessarily have a whole lot of ocean, but we have enough, with enough of a blend in the water to copy. Same thing with the sky. We want to create kind of a sky effect, and we can go ahead and do that. So what we're going to need to do is, first of all, I'm going to go ahead and pick the eyedropper. I'm going to make sure that my layer here, I'm going to go ahead and name my layers. This one will be called the castle. Okay, this one is the bat layer. Not to be confused with Batman's layer. This one is the green iguana. Okay, and then we have a background. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get the eyedropper, which is right here. I'm going to take a sample of this color of the sky. It's not truly a pure white, and we want to kind of keep some of that. So we're going to use that same color. And what it's done is it's gone ahead and made the foreground. It says set foreground color to whatever it is I've sampled. And I can sample several different things. It may look different, but it really isn't. Okay, so now that I've picked my eyedropper color, I'm going to go to my transparent layer here, and using the paint bucket, I'm just going to go ahead and set that to be the same. So it blends really well with this this background. Now, you'll note, now that's great and all, but in order to kind of, work with the castle and change some of the things, we're going to need to merge these two layers. The castle has to be on top of a layer. Anytime you merge layers, you're merging them down on top of each other. So for instance, if the castle was below, so it looked like this, if I were to merge this top layer down onto the castle, it would cover it over and you wouldn't be able to see it. Okay, so the castle needs to be above this white layer in the thing, and I'm going to go ahead and right-click on the castle. I'm going to go ahead and merge it down. And now it is all one single layer, and it's this layer that I'm going to go ahead and work with. So, first things first, I want to duplicate the water. There is a lasso tool here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to try to outline this water as much as possible. You'll notice this is going to be a little tedious. Come over, down. Doesn't really matter if it's exact or not, because what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing a lot of blending, copying, cloning, things like that. I'm going to go ahead and copy that, Control C, and now I'm going to hit Control B, and it's going to allow me to copy that water. You'll notice it creates a floating selection or a pasted layer. I'm going to go ahead and make that a new layer, and now I'm going to duplicate that layer several times. Okay, so I've now got a I've got a duplicate layer. I'm going to go ahead and grab the move tool. I'm going to move that over a little bit. And essentially what I want to do is get a lot of these layers. I'm going to duplicate it again and move it over a little bit. Essentially what I'm doing is I'm trying to create an ocean. I can shift them up and down a little bit if I want to go ahead and make it look like the waves are kind of moving a little bit. It doesn't have to be exact. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate the layer again. Move that layer a little bit. And I'm going to do this several times. Eventually, I'm going to merge them all down. But ultimately, what I'm trying to do is get like an ocean, okay, or something that looks like an ocean. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate that layer again. I'm going to repeat this several times. I'm going to go ahead and pause the video, do this quite a few times, and then come back once it's all done. Okay, so I'm back, and you'll see that I've repeated it quite a few times. One of the things that I did kind of in the middle of this was I merged several of them down and then copied that layer. And you'll see that if I duplicate that layer, I now have a larger layer even to work with, and I can move that around a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and kind of overlap that one a little bit too. Now, you'll notice I have this jagged white space down here, and that's part of what we need to kind of fix and take care of. Okay, so one of the things that I'm going to do with that is I'm going to go ahead and make a new selection. I'm going to go ahead and merge these down so that all of the water is together. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take my lasso tool again, or maybe even the square tool. I'm thinking the lasso tool though. And I'm going to select just kind of this chunk right here. Okay, I'm going to copy that, paste it in, make it a new layer, and then I'm going to go ahead and move that around a little bit, so kind of like this. And I'm going to kind of keep repeating the same effect over and over and over again. It gives me kind of the different colors I want. Okay, it gives me a lot of things that I want as far as the water is concerned without having to recreate an entire ocean again. So I'm going to go ahead and move now this second time I've pasted. I'm going to kind of put it here. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate again. Okay, and then move that particular layer, and I can repeat this process many times to create kind of what looks like an ocean. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and put a layer over it or a gradient over it when I'm done to give it a little bit more depth, maybe even a Gaussian blur so that the distant waters look blurrier than the closer waters. There's things you can do to add depth to it, but I'm going to continue to duplicate and move and fill in the spaces. Okay, I'm going to duplicate and move and continue just to move the different things down. Duplicate, move down, duplicate, move down, so on and so forth. It seems like a lot, but it's really not too bad. So we're going to go ahead. I'm going to duplicate one more time here. Okay, we're going to clean up some of these edges in here. Actually, I'll duplicate one more time and move it right about there. Okay, so now I've kind of got what it looks to be kind of like water. And I can go ahead and I can kind of, I'll blur these edges a little bit, but I'm going to need to merge all these down first. I'm going to merge all of these so it's a single ocean that I'm working with. So now if I go ahead and move it, I've got all of this ocean that I'm kind of moving, positioning. Okay, and I'm going to do a few things to it. I'm going to go ahead, first of all, I'm going to smudge, kind of, I'm going to go ahead and smudge, get a big circle here. I'm going to just smudge these edges a little bit. Okay, so there we go with that. And I can do that all along here. Second of all, I can go ahead and I'm going to try a few things. I'm going to put a few dodges in here to add some depth, just click around. I'm going to go ahead and go back through and smudge those. Trying to get rid of some of the different, okay, and then I can go back through and sharpen those. Okay, and you just kind of play around with it a little bit. You want to just kind of create what looks to be kind of an ocean effect. And you just play around with it. That seems okay. So I'm going to kind of leave it. Is it the best? But for now, it's allowed me to extend the ocean over a little bit, which is what I've wanted. I'm going to go ahead and position this pasted layer up, and I'm going to combine both this layer down onto this layer here. And let's see if that works. Let's go ahead and merge down. That didn't work. I'm going to undo that. I'm going to go ahead and transition. We'll try pasting. We'll merge this one down. And now it's a single layer. I can go ahead and apply a few more things. I can sharpen up some spots. Okay, I can also apply the clone tool, the heal tool. The clone and heal tool allows it to kind of work. Okay, and clone tool. I want to kind of clone this area here. You have to hold control to use it. And by clicking many times, it actually makes the water look even better. Okay, now you'll notice this isn't necessarily in the instructions, but because of this, I'm trying to recreate an image that's similar to that first image, but yet still has a pretty good resolution. And so it's what I'm doing here. Now I have that. Now the sky presents a few challenges, but for the most part, because there's no harsh lines, there's no definitive clouds, there looks like there might be something up here. We're going to go ahead and use the brush, and because this color is still picked, we're just going to go ahead, we're going to kind of cover it over. It looks like it was right in there. Other than that, it actually looks pretty good. So this layer is pretty much done. I've got my ocean, pretty happy with it. Got my castle, my sky. Okay, and now we can go ahead and go back to the instructions, and we can kind of move forward from there. So I'm going to go back to my instructions, and we're going to move on to, okay, step 2, where we're going to insert the iguana. Well, I've got to work with the iguana a little bit. So I'm going to go back to GIMP, okay, and bring up my tools here. I'm going to go to my layers, my iguana layer. I'm going to make this layer go away and bring up the iguana. First of all, with the iguana, I need to get rid of the black around him. I'm going to use the wand tool. Now, at first, the wand tool's got all these little spots. You don't want that. You can increase the threshold so that it gets more of a definitive edge around. Because of that edge, I'm much more pleased with that. I'm going to go ahead and hit delete, and now it's cut out the iguana. I'll go to select none, and now I'm working with a much easier image. I'm going to activate the background so I can see some of the edges more definitively, okay, but I'm not going to be working in the background. I'm also going to zoom in. Okay, and I'm going to want to go ahead and clean up a few things. First of all, this tail, I'm going to get rid of that. So I'm going to go ahead and erase that tail a little bit. Okay, other than that, not too bad. Maybe I'll clean up this claw here a little bit, there. For the most part, this really isn't too bad. I've got my iguana, he's cut out now, and now I can go ahead and change some things about it to make it look more like a dragon. So I'm going to go ahead, and now I'm going to deactivate the background. I'm going to activate this layer, but I'm going to go ahead and make this layer, or this iguana layer, kind of opaque. And I'm going to move it above this background layer. So I'm going to go ahead and make my iguana sort of opaque. Okay, I'm going to need to zoom out. Bring up my tools here. And really what I want to do is position my iguana on top of the castle. From the diagram, it looks like the dragon should be facing the other direction. Part of the reason of making the ocean is so that the iguana could look out, or the dragon can look out over the ocean. So I'm going to go ahead and flip the iguana around. To do that, I need to have the layer selected. I can go to the layer, transform, flip horizontally, and now he's facing the other direction. Okay, and now I can go ahead and move the iguana so that he's positioned more appropriately over top of the castle. And it really is a matter of getting him where you want him. Okay, you can also rotate it to get a more optimal angle if you want him, you know, more at an angle. So I'm going to go ahead and try that. I'm going to go ahead and just rotate a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and try maybe right about there. And now I'm going to move him again a little bit more. I'm trying to get it so his claws can be positioned on the castle to look really cool. Okay, and we're going to try that right there. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and the opacity of the iguana, I'm going to pull it back up. There it is. Later, what we will do, and part of the later assignment, is you are going to go ahead and erase a part of the iguana once you've added wings and things, so that it looks like part of him is overlapping the castle wall, and part of him is behind the castle wall. So it's like clutching the castle. It's kind of a neat effect, and you'll see that in later steps in this particular exercise. Okay, so going back to step 3, We positioned his hands over top, kind of like this. Step 4 was to remove the gizzard, but we don't need to do that. But the step that we do want to do is called an eye warp. It's a distortion. And to distort means we're going to want to go ahead and extend the snout of our lizard. You'll notice that in this particular image, he's got like a blunt snout, and here he's got more of a pointed snout. So we want to go ahead and extend the snout of our dragon. And so to do that, we got to make sure that the iguana is selected. It is. And I'm going to go ahead and increase the opacity. I'm also going to go ahead and get rid of this background layer and do this so it's easier to see what's going on. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select kind of like the head here. Actually, what I want to do is I want to include more of the white space out in here because that's the direction that the snout is going to be pulled or extended. Okay, so I've got his head here, and I'm going to go ahead and go to Filters, Distorts, Eye Warp, and here it is. And what we're going to do is you want to move, okay, and the deform radius for this is given in the exercise. It looks like it's like somewhere between 26 and 28, and the deform amount should be 0.12, which is fine. We can go ahead and do that. So we're going to go ahead and do that, and we're going to make it a linear deform. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and go back to our eye warp here. We want this to be about 26. We want this to be about 0.12. Bilinear move. And what you do then is you take and you pull across the image like that. Okay, you actually have to do it in the picture. Now I'm not particularly pleased with that. I'm going to reset it. I'm going to try that again. And I want to just extend his nose. You're just going to be doing it inside the preview window here. Really kind of creepy. You can actually do this to all kinds of people. You can make like cone head looking people. You know, it's actually look kind of cool on Mr. Wade. You can do all kinds of neat things, but essentially you're just extending the snout so that when done, I hit OK, it's now extended outwards. Now, obviously it looks a little blurry because we stretched it. In order to kind of get rid of that blurry effect, we can go ahead and pull up our sharpen tool. Which would be this water droplet, and we can sharpen it, and we can try to go ahead. I'm going to make the circle much smaller, decrease the scale. You can sharpen up the skin. I can increase the rate of sharpen too, so that essentially what you're trying to do is you're trying to give it some of that skin look back. It's becoming kind of pixelated. That's not really what I want. I'm going to undo that. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to maybe choose like this soft fuzzy. Okay, and I might do like a fade out and a hard edge. Still a little pixelated, but we can kind of fix that if we need to. Okay. We can also go to our heal tool, and we can go ahead and if we hit control, if we can hit control and hit heal. And it's going to kind of heal there. Now, that's not really what I'm looking for either. Like I said, a lot of times you just play around with these things. I'm going to go ahead and undo the sharpen. I'm going to go ahead and hit heal. So I want it to look something like this skin right in here. I'm going to hit control, click, and I'm going to go up here and heal. What it does is it kind of copies some of the skin to give it that scaly effect. You notice by clicking here, I'm kind of doing that same exact thing. Okay, now I'm going to click here again. And I want to go ahead and extend the mouth out like that. All right. So now I've got something that looks a lot like a dragon. You can see his mouth is kind of extended. I might want to do a little bit more of this scaly effect here underneath the mouth. I'm going to make the scale here a little smaller. Okay, I'm going to hit Control to select my area. I want some of these scales. They look awesome. Okay, I'm going to apply those underneath the chin here. Okay, I'm much happier with this version of my dragon. And now it's got a pointier snout. He's looking more dragon-esque, okay? And that looks good. The other thing I kind of want to do is I might want to extend his neck a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and try to do a little bit more of an eye warp here. Or I'm going to try to kind of move or extend the whole neck area a little bit more. You can try that. I guess for time's sake, we're not going to do that. I'm pretty happy with this dragon-looking beast here with the extended snout. Okay, so for now, I'm going to go ahead and pause this, and you can go ahead and take a break here real quick, and we'll get back to it. All right, so next thing we want to do is we want to add wings, because wings are awesome, right? And no dragon is complete without a sweet set of wings. The closest thing that we have to like bat is bat-like wings to dragon wings. So I'm going to go ahead and just deselect what I've got going on. I'm going to go ahead and hide my iguana. I'm going to pull out the bat. The bat is sweet, okay? And here he is. I'm going to go ahead and zoom out a little bit. There's the bat. And what I'm going to go ahead and do with this bat is I'm going to cut off this wing. I really want this one wing right here because it looks awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and select this wing. I'm going to go ahead and cut out the bat first. Okay, now obviously that's not what I want. I'm going to use the wand, but I'm going to have to increase the threshold here. Okay, I'm just going to turn the threshold down a little bit. That's not what I want. Turn it down a little bit. Okay. In situations like this, where your threshold isn't going to work very well, all right, you'll notice I'm having problems here. What you might have to do is you might just have to cut out a section of the wing and then erase around it. So instead of trying to do the whole thing, what we're going to do this instead. Instead of using the wand, okay, I'm going to go up to select. The computer's having such a hard time figuring out what's going on because there's so many lines. My computer's actually having a very difficult time. Let's go to select. Okay, here's what we're going to have to do. Try to get as little of it as selected as possible. There we go. Okay, now it's kind of back to normal. We've got this wing here. I've got a little bit of the fur here is kind of what I want. All right, this is the wing I want. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that out. I'm going to go Control X. And I'm going to go ahead and paste it in as a new layer. So Edit, Paste, Into. I'm going to make it a new layer. And now I can go ahead and delete this bat layer, or I can go ahead and just make it invisible. So now I'm going to work with just the bat wing. Now, like I said, the bat wing provides a little bit of issue because there's all this grass. Okay, and we can try the wand again if we want, but the odds are it's not going to work for us very well. So we're going to go ahead and try it. And again, it's not really working very well. Okay, oh, it's not what I want. I want the pasted layer here. Okay, and it's definitely not working. Let's go ahead and... That's a little better, but still not quite. Let's turn the threshold down just a little bit. That's not too bad. We're getting closer. Okay, there's something we can work with. We'll delete that. Delete that. Delete that. We can delete all of that. Delete that. Delete that. And what we can do is we can go ahead and we can go ahead and erase a lot of this. Make sure nothing is selected when you go to do this. And so you can erase a lot. Make it a hard edge. So you want to erase as much of this as possible. Okay, and now here comes kind of the tough part. We're going to have to actually zoom in and erase a little bit at a time. Zoom in. Erase a little bit of time around the wing. Now this might have been a lot of zoom here. Let's zoom out a little bit. Okay, that's probably close enough. And we're going to pull up the eraser tool here. It's a little too big. I'm going to scale it down somewhere around 2. And I'm going to go ahead and just erase around the wing. This is the time-consuming part, having to be able to cut out this wing. You're going to have to use you're going to have to use varying sizes of eraser circles. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pause the video. Go ahead and cut the wing out using the eraser tool. There is a way to do it using the paths tool. If you are familiar with that, cutting things out, by all means, you can use that route. But it can be rather frustrating at times, and so I choose to just use the eraser here for the sake of time and for keep my sanity. So I'm going to go ahead and pause this, and then we'll continue once I have the wing cut out. I will continue with the Batwing and things in part 3 of this exercise. So go ahead and you can refer to the 3rd video for this exercise, which can be found on YouTube or on my tutorials page. Thank you for watching.